but just to treat it as if it was a new player, right?
Yeah, we want to build things from the bottom up. So I mean, the most important thing here, and I will. I guess I'll put my hotkeys on. I'm actually in game as well, so I'm going to be able to show things. You won't be able to see them on stream because there's a 2-minute delay right now because we were doing a tournament, but that's okay. I'm just in game as well so that I can also show things. So just build up here in game, and while you're building up, so just take a quick expansion and then get up some barracks and stuff. We don't actually need a proper build order or even gases or anything.
All right.
The whole point here is just, yeah, to get some stuff going. So I am going to build a couple of barracks and float them over your base so I can see what's happening.
No worries, yeah.
But then I'll also be in game so I can kind of take control and show things. I probably could have done this in unit tested just as easily with most of the things now that I think about it, but that's okay. So, awesome. Okay. All right, first things first. Select all army and control groups. Do you use the select all army key? Well, first of all, actually, standard hotkey layout. Do you use the very normal hotkey layout?
Yeah, absolute generic for the hotkeys.
Have you changed anything?
I have not.
Not a single thing. Okay, that's fine.
Not a single thing for hotkeys.
That's okay. If we want to learn camera hotkeys, you'll need to change them. That's one of the more advanced mechanics. With what I saw and what you said about your play, it's one of the mechanics that's not a high priority. And learning new mechanics is a very hard task, and it's something which is a big focus on repetitions. You ever played an instrument or done a martial art?
Yeah, I used to play piano.
Cool. Okay. So you would understand then that there's a lot of repetitions before you can establish muscle memory.
Absolutely.
A load of repetitions, right? And when you're learning something new, it's not going to be natural. You can't really play it very well. So yeah,
Move that marine out of the way.
No worries. It's going to take a while, and it's easy to play 30 times in a row and feel like you haven't got any better. A little piece of music, right? But the next day, it'll kick in. The muscle memory will one day just be there, and it'll feel more natural. It just takes the focus. So if at any moment, though, you start going, oh, I'm just going to fucking bang the keys and do some random shit, you will not learn the thing. And it's the same with all mechanics. Now, people often don't fall into that because there's less obvious distractions when you're playing an instrument, whereas in StarCraft, people are like, oh, but I gotta go respond to the cheese, or I gotta do this thing because they went BCs. And they like give themselves excuses to just completely go off book with practicing a mechanic or a build order and start to do what we like to call random shit. And the moment we're doing random shit, or if we're reverting to doing things with an old mechanic, what you're going to do is you're going to cross the wires in your head. So if you have an inefficient way of doing things, when we commit to learning a new mechanic, you're not allowed to do that ever again. If you don't go cold turkey, it will take you infinitely longer. Now, the reason I hit this home so much, people get so competitive and so obsessed with winning in StarCraft, 90% of players are unable to detach themselves from that urge to win the game. That's a big part of what they feel good about when they play. And they go, I want to play better. I want to go to Pig for coaching because he's going to make me play better, and then I can win more and I can get more of that winning feeling. And I'm going to say right now that is the worst reason to come to me for coaching, because if that's literally all you're getting out of it is the winning feeling and you're obsessed with that, it becomes unhealthy and the game becomes really unsatisfying, because the true path to getting better is being able to handle your defeats and the ability to grind down and say, I'm going to really focus on this new mechanic and I'm going to be a worse player and lose more games for the next 2 weeks. And then in the long run, it'll pay off and make the game smoother and more fun for me to play. And you're not even necessarily focused on it'll make me win more. It probably will in the long run, but it'll make the game more fun and more smooth. And if you can focus on that sort of stuff, that's where you're in the right mindset. There's a thing where if you want to win too badly, you're going to have a really fucking bad time playing StarCraft. It's like a general rule, right?
Well, it's kind of like anything in life. The more you want it, the harder it is to obtain.
Exactly. You start getting stiff in your play. You start getting too tense. You start prioritizing the wrong things because you're staring at the goal, whereas you want to trust in the process. You want to look at putting one foot in front of the other. That's how you finish a marathon. You don't stare at the goal, go, I want to fucking be there so bad, and you like sprint and gas out. No. It's like focus just on keeping that steady rhythm, putting one step in front of the other, keeping your pace. And it's the same thing with improving at StarCraft. So I just wanted to have that little chat because I feel like I've not prefaced things correctly with a lot of people I've coached recently. And since you're coming from a background of really playing a drastically different style, you're doing a huge rebuilding process. So you'd be coming at this where you are trying to rebuild from the bottom up, and you're going to have kind of the hardest path to that, right? So it's good, we've got, okay, I know you've learnt piano. You sound like you understand this. You've explained that a little bit. You said, it's like in life, anything you want too hard, like, this is good. I feel like we're on the same page. Now let's talk mechanics. You use standard hotkeys. You don't use select all army. So go over to your document. You're well set up. You've got enough production and stuff. We don't need to do anything else in the game. So what's your current hotkey layout? So notice I've started a little dot point list.
Yeah, right there.
Oh, I can just do it. Actually, easier if I just do the numbered list. There you go. So that's control group 1, right? What's on that? Press enter. Control group 2, what goes on that? So just write down 1 to 0 what you normally put everything on. Is it main army? Is it command centers, etc., etc.? So not your hotkey layout. That's all right. I know it's your hotkey layout now, so it's fine. I'll remember that.
All right. So that's gonna be control group is usually a CC1.
Mm-hmm.
And then generally you can see that's army. CC2. And generally speaking, I don't. Starport actually. Like starports, factories, barracks, depending what I'm doing, is either 4 or 5. And 5 is usually like the highest I go to. Usually it's actually 4, but it's usually just whatever I'm building in particular time. Usually starports. So transitioning.
So will you put all 3 production facilities on the same, or is it just the most important ones?
As far as production facilities, I put them all on the same.
Okay, so just write production for number 4. That 100% cannot change. So I would like you to write after that, just like, just a hyphen or whatever. Never fucking change this. That's got to be the same every game. Because that's one of those things, if we're changing that every now and then, it's just so unnecessary, and it's just going to create variance for no reason. More chances of us making mistakes, essentially. So, 1 army key. So what about, do you put all your command centers on 1, or just 1 command center on each control group?
1 command center per control group, and I just hop around and build SCVs.
Okay.
Theoretically, I probably could do them all on 1.
Yeah, that's a really bad habit. We want to get rid of that shit. I understand because it allows you to double tap to zoom, which is like a camera hotkey replacement, but we've got to have all the command centers on 1 hotkey. This is very good to know. This is actually so useful. So this is really good. I'm going to write down what I would suggest instead, okay? So it's up to you, whatever feels comfortable. A normal setup for most people would be like army 1, 2, 3, command centers 4, production 5, or if you like to have your production separate, maybe you'd have barracks 5 and then like starports and factories on 6, something along those lines. Because you're used to these keys, I don't want to change things too drastically. What we're going to do is all CCs on 1, okay? And then we're going to go 2, and army is 2, secondary army key is 3, 4 is production, and then 5 is defense / counterattack squad. Okay. I'm pretty sure Americans spell defense with an S, right?
Yeah.
You guys do? So okay, we'll do the American spelling. I'm pretty sure I alternate between the two.
It's all the same to me. I do a lot of the colonial spelling as well.
Okay, I always alternate with some of them. Anyway, since we're like half American, half British in Australia, a bit more British in general, but we do use a little bit of both. You say aluminum, and we'll be like, "Yeah, you guys are crazy," and then a British person says vitamin, and we're like, "Oh, okay, we're gonna go with the Americans on that one."
What is that?
Like a vitamin? What the fuck are you talking about? That's crazy. So that's 5 hotkeys. Caps lock can be our dumping key. I think we'll set up, because that's nice. Tilde. Well, actually, I guess that would be, sorry. Okay, so dumping key on 9. Change to caps lock is something that's very common. We can change 10 or 0 to the tilde, the key that's to the left of 1. equals bonus group if we want to need it. Really easy to change those. You just go into your control group settings and basically change.
Yeah, you just hit change, then hit the key you want to change to.
Yeah, there's basically how to add to that key, how to create it, how to select it. You just change the 0 in all of those to that key. So we can talk about that potentially in future. It's not high value right now. So we've got all CCs in one: army, secondary army, production, defense, counterattack. Okay. You know what? We're going back to basics here. You're happy to go deep on these mechanical changes. How deep?
Well, I mean, like I said in the emails, I want to absolutely tear down the house and build it up. I mean, just like learning the instrument we talked about. I mean, I had no idea going in how to play the piano. I trusted the judgment of the person who taught me how to play and their skill set and their knowledge over their years playing. And that's exactly what I'm willing to do here. I mean, obviously, you have a far higher skill set than I do. And I just want to, what would you do if you could do it all over again? That's what I'm trying to do. Trying to build up with the best possible foundation, take it slow, get the basics, and then work my way up.
Fuck yeah, let's do it then. Okay. So, okay. That's awesome. Do you control click on units?
I do.
Okay, so you don't double click very much? You just tend to control click to select them? All of the unit type?
I usually just control click, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I will double click from now and again, especially like when things get tense.
Yeah.
I generally kind of panic and go back to really bad fundamentals.
What about hearing
things?
What about hearing your natural? Yeah, besides those chaotic situations, which obviously we'll try to train that out. Can you pull all these workers off your natural and then show me how you'd put back on resources? Like imagine we've just boxed them all, pulled them off as if we're running from a drop, and then put your workers back on and show us how you do that.
Oh shit, where are they all moving?
Oh, you're doing it in your main, are you? Or
yeah.
Yeah, no,
I did the main.
I was looking at the wrong base. Show us again.
Mineral field depleted.
And then are you just boxing workers to put them back on gas? How do you put them back on gas?
Oh yeah, I have to box off usually.
Okay.
So like when the formation's going, I usually just grab a few and then send them off.
Okay, so there's a much better way of doing that, where
I'm
you just
sure there is.
deselect using the wireframe, and this is one of the most important mechanics. So we've got a nice little CCs on the one. Okay, we've got a lot of things to cover. Before we do that, let's check your settings. Okay, we're gonna go from the ground up. You on Windows?
I'm on Windows, yeah.
All right. Did you check the mouse and keyboard settings stuff that I sent in the
I
document?
don't think I did actually. Let me go ahead and grab that for you.
No worries. If you just go into Windows and you search mouse, and then you search keyboard, and you want the control panel keyboard, if that doesn't show up, you might need to open control panel, and we want to find both a mouse properties and a
keyboard properties.
And a keyboard properties. That's right.
All right, I have that in front of me now.
So let's start with keyboard properties. We want the repeat delay on the shortest possible and the repeat rate on the fastest possible. So
right,
that's the speed tab.
Short and fast.
Yeah. So if you click here and hold down a key to test repeat rate, hold down your marine key. Is that like A, I think is the default marine key?
A.
It's been a while. And you can see that. Now, just to show you what this does, the repeat delay, put it on long. The repeat look on slow. So put it down the bad end and then hold down A again. And you can see if you're holding down a button to queue up Marines on your 10 barracks, how fucking long it's.
Slower.
Yeah, so the default isn't too bad. There's just a bit of extra repeat delay in there. You can actually go further than this. So just go full short, full fastest, apply settings. You can actually go into your Windows registry and make that even faster, which Zerg players especially do, so that they can like spam out things with rapid fire like creep tumors and build 50 Zerglings in the blink of an eye. Not too important for us as a Terran. If you want, you can research it yourself, but I really don't think it matters for us as a Terran player. I'd rather we just leave that as is. So keyboard properties done. Go to mouse, and we want pointer options.
Pointer options.
All right. Selected pointer speed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That should be 6 bars smack bang in the middle.
Yep, right in the middle right now.
And enhanced pointer precision, you want to untick that. So that's by default ticked. That's what we call Microsoft's. We want to give the world RSI and have shitty mouse settings by default. It literally is mouse acceleration is what that is. It's a meme because it says enhanced pointer precision and it accelerates your mouse so you get inconsistent mouse speeds and you can't develop muscle memory properly because of that. There is about maybe 1% of pro gamers who play with this just because they always grew up playing with it and they never swapped. And every coach and every other player says, you're a fucking idiot. Just take the few months of like relearning and get rid of it. Like it's so bad. So get rid of the enhanced point of precision. You had that turned on, right?
It was on, and now it's off.
Yeah. Okay. So what mouse and keyboard do you have?
You know what? I have the Rival 300 for the mouse, and the Razer, I have no idea. The Black Widow Ultimate.
Black Widow Ultimate. All right. I'm just going to have a quick Google of what
2014
these
edition.
look like. Rival 300 mouse. What brand is that? Steel Series? Okay.
Yeah, SteelSeries.
Looks like a rather small mouse from what I can... Oh, no, kind of medium-sized. Do you palm grip it or claw grip it or a little bit of a mix?
It's a little bit of a mix between palm and claw.
Okay, so hybrid grip. Do you know what your DPI is?
I do not.
Do you have any SteelSeries software on your computer or like any drivers?
I should have the drivers.
If you can open that up, you should be able to check. And you probably have a button on it. Most gaming mice have button, and you can change your DPI profiles, but you won't know what they are unless we check. So since we're working from the ground up mechanically here, we are going to double check this. Yeah, the Black Widow Ultimate looks okay. It's got close distance between the F keys and the other keys, and there's no macros, right?
Yeah.
Are there macros? No macros.
Oh, no, there are. You have 5 on the side.
Ugh, I hate those.
The far side.
They make it a little easy to lose where your hand is on the keyboard. If that happens at any point with any of your keys, there's extra buttons that you don't use that you sometimes accidentally press. Remove the keycaps, and then your finger will automatically realize that's not the key it's meant to be on.
Yeah, absolutely.
My keyboards, I don't anymore, but because I'm using a different setup. I used to always have like my old keyboard I'm typing with on my lap. There's so many keycaps removed from all the ones next to that I would never actually need to use. That's cool. So are you in the DPI settings of the mouse yet? Have you found your way in there?
Yeah, I'm actually. Give me like 18 seconds. It's downloading the new driver software and everything.
No worries. We'll let that go.
Just
So
I can get that. All set
yeah.
up.
For people who couldn't find mouse and keyboard, probably there's a bunch of people following along in chat. I have a lot of info about this. I don't know. I think there's a blog post there that gives you some info about the mouse and keyboard basics, guys, in chat. An old blog of mine, but basically just go to control panel, search mouse, and then search keyboard, and you'll find a mouse properties and a keyboard properties. As you get more and deeper into Windows, they've made it harder and harder to find fundamental settings because they want to make it so your grandma can use the computer without losing her mind. So everything is what anyone who knows how to use a computer considers useless, essentially. And your grandma goes, this is great, this works now, which is fine.
Yeah, I mean, I already noticed the difference too with the movement.
It's different. Yeah, and any of these changes you're going to suck at first. Like, it's going to be weird, right? So just adjusting to a new thing, you know?
Yeah,
So that's why we're here. I'm happy we preface this with that chat about learning. Make sure we're approaching it from that point.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm totally ready to, as much as it pains me to say, take the big L for the rest of the season on this. Just because I know at the end it's going to have a better gameplay.
If you're playing like 20 hours a week, it won't be a whole season anyway. Like, the thing is, it's this crazy thing where if you're mentally prepared to lose for the whole season and to just focus on improving one step at a time, it's like you'll very quickly start winning. It's also one of those things where it's like, as long as you do some mechanical drills each day, so that's going to be like the big kind of homework thing. And I want you to help tailor it. Basically, develop your own 15-minute mechanical 15 minutes, to maybe even as long as 30 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes mechanical practice. You know, my recommendation is just an empty custom game with no opponent.
All right.
And, you know, practice a build, but focus on, like, you know, hitting your production, control grouping army on new keys, you know, moving it around with 2 control groups. Like, if you're like, oh, I'm going to always learn to put my tanks on a different control group to my army, in between macroing the standard build order, you get used to moving that army of Marines and tanks around the map and then sieging it up in a position. Even though there's no opponent, you still send in a CV scout, right? You still a CV scout, even though there's nothing to scout. And you're just focusing on getting used to doing things in the new way. In this case, it might be your mouse is a bit different. We're using different control groups. Maybe we're using camera locations to jump around, right? And it's like just having a focus on the new mechanics and taking it slow, not rushing to try and do everything at 300 APM. Using and sticking with the new mechanics is the key. Anytime you revert to old habits, you massively slow your progress because you split your learning. Because your brain starts to get reinforced. Oh, so sometimes we do it the old way and sometimes we do it the new way. Whereas we want everything to be stimulus, response, right? Something happens in the game, you respond in a certain way. The moment you're trying to decide about how to respond, which will be the automatic thing when you're learning a new thing at first, that's really bad. And the thing is, you'll get through that period and the new method becomes automatic very quickly if you grind this practice and stay focused. But even 1 in 5 games, you get super excited, get competitive, start using your old mechanics, it undoes the previous 10 games of practice. It just fucks you really hard. So that's the thing I just want to doubly hit home on, because I've seen people do that. They're like, oh yeah, I've been practicing the mechanics. Like I do it mostly. Sometimes I swap to the other one though. And I'm like, and I immediately know when they say that, I'm like, no, there's no muscle memory. Like I know the moment they're in a chaotic game, just the most important StarCraft games where you need your mechanics to be stable, they like start switching between different ways of doing things and everything falls apart. And I go, okay, like if you're not going to take the time for that, and I've had to say this to many students in the last 2 years, please stop learning the mechanic and just go back to your old way of doing it because you haven't put the time and the reps in. And that's totally okay. StarCraft's a hard game. If we don't want to tear the house down, don't fucking tear the house down. That's not for you. That's for the other people out there. So in case anyone's like, oh, should I also copy and do this? No, only if you're really hardcore, you want to totally relearn this hobby and this game that we find passionate. So have we got the drivers downloaded? How's it going?
I do, yeah. I'm looking at my my Rival 300 information screen. It gives me the 2 CPI indexes in the corner. Yeah.
Do we have
all of my keys?
So do we have just the DPI for the mouse there?
It does not look like it.
Sorry, are you in your Razer software then? Was that just keyboard?
Right now I'm in the Rival.
Okay, you are in the Rival
software. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean we can Rival 300 default DPI settings. Let's just take 400, 800, 1600, 3200. So as you cycle through those, you can feel the slowest is 400. The one above that is 800. That's what I would recommend. So can you go through? Just there should be a button on the mouse to just change DPI profile.
Right in the center, yeah.
Which one were you on? Were you on the one above that, the highest one, the slowest one?
I'm on the highest one.
Yeah, most people are. So that's 3200 DPI. So I recommend 800. But maybe just start with lowering to 1600 since that's already a big change, a huge change. Let's be real, because you're changing mouse acceleration as well. So this is why normally if you can create custom profiles to like lower it 400 at a time rather than 1600 at a time, that's going to be good. And this is a bit of an optional one. Some people do prefer to be a bit faster. I used to play on 1800. Including at a very high level for a long time. In 2015, I was at DreamHack Summer watching Snoop play, and I was like, dude, you never misclick. What the fuck? And he was like, yeah, I used to misclick a lot, and I got fed up, so I just redid my settings. Now I use 800 DPI, down from 2200 or something he was at. And I was like, and he went through all these different hotkeys he'd customized, and he really relearned everything. And he's like, yeah, it was a real struggle learning it, but I knew it'd be worth it in the long run. And now I'm much happier because I don't have to go back and give orders 5 times in a row when I'm panicking and misclicking in a game. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. So I did the same thing and lowered from 1800 to 800. I did it all in one go. I remember he recommended doing it a few hundred at a time. I'm a sadistic bastard, I guess. Like, fucking let's just do it the hard way. If you do that, that's going to take a while to get used to. I would recommend giving it a go. It is probably going to involve you using your mouse a little differently, though. So it might require more palm focused grip, and more arm movements. Now that's generally good for the longevity of your wrist and your hands because you're not trying to control these tiny little movements, which inevitably leads to your hand being overly tensed and stressed. The more of your forearm you're moving, the more accurate and consistent because you're using bigger muscle groups, and it just leads to less injuries. So that's the advice for it. This is a very big one though. This is a huge change. I would recommend you just go with it and try to get with it, but we'll probably have to revisit and talk about that one again and see how it's going in a week.
Yeah, no worries. I'm gonna go ahead and drop down to 1600.
Yeah, start on 1600 and just that plus the mouse excel. I guess just see how it feels. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably feels a bit weird even now, just moving about your desktop, right?
It really does. Yeah, no doubt there. I mean, just with the first change, it felt pretty native. Or for,
Yep.
I should say, pretty non-native, pretty awkward. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna take some time getting used to, but it's what it is.
All right. So with camera locations, most pros learn just F1 to F8, and most only use F1 to F4. So that's something I would like us to focus on. If we want to build the house up, get rid of double tapping 1 and 2 to zoom between your bases, and just have F1, F2, F3, F4. You see they're just above there. They're a little further than you're used to reaching. But with a bit of practice, you can get pretty quick at reaching those, and most pro gamers use those keys. What are your thoughts on learning those camera locations?
That's totally fun.
Okay, let's set it up. So let's go in game.
We've completely
All right.
lined
And
up.
options, hotkeys. If you haven't changed anything, when you put these into place, you're going to have to create a new profile. Just a heads up.
All right.
But go global camera. Scroll down to create location 1.
Location 1.
And you're going to say, it says control F5, right?
Yep.
It's the fucking worst thing I've ever seen in my life. The defaults on this are the worst thing ever. It's so bad. So anyway, we basically just want to go, do you use F1 for idle worker?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't press the idle worker button at all for idle SCVs?
No.
Do you use the button above the minimap at all?
Occasionally, I generally don't have too many workers idling at any given time. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be something I run into with evolving my gameplay.
Yeah,
Like,
as you
right
get
now,
more bases, right? I guess
Yeah,
because you've
yeah,
been so aggressive, it's rare.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the most bases I generally have to occupy are like 3 to 4.
Okay.
So not too much going on.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to say, all right, we can just use tilde for idle worker for now.
All right.
Since we're going to replace that. And if we want at some point, we need to remap F2, the select all army key, since we're stealing that here. For now, I'm happy for you to not use that though, since it's a terrible habit. Like it's so easily becomes, it's like a useful tool. It's like the nuclear warhead is a useful tool, you know. You're like, yeah, I mean it is.
Yeah, it's just,
There's about a billion drawbacks though.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, if you think it's a bad habit, let's just kill it before it becomes a thing. Let's not
Yeah.
ever use it.
Yeah, like I've started using it a bit and it does help for sure. Do I play with mouse acceleration? Someone's asking in chat. No, we turned it off. We already went through all that. 800 DPI I use. Yeah. Any other questions? We'll get to you guys in chat soon. All right, so let's make these control F1 through control F8. Okay, so go through control F1 for the first one, control F2, control F3, and control F4. People in chat can tell me. That's what, I'm sure there's people there who use these, and then control F5, control F6. We're not going to focus on those. Control F5, F6, F7, F8, since they are harder to reach. Just the first 4 or 5 are the more important ones anyway. But most people use control. Some people were used to shift, and they like to use shift F1, shift F2. They find that more natural. I think control is more natural for me. What do you find? What do you think? Just thinking
Control's
about it.
usually all right for me.
Okay. So we'll go control F1 to control F8, and then we'll make jump to location F1, F2, and so on. So alien to me using these hotkeys because I never learnt standard camera location hotkeys in my early days as a pleb pro gamer. But actually, it's not too. Yeah, that's quite nice. Not sure exactly what fingers you want to use. So if you end up wanting more advice on the fingers and stuff, you'll want to watch pro gamers play from tournaments / ask pros in their streams. Hey, what fingers do you use? You know, what finger positioning? I can't give you as much feedback on that because this is the more standard setup that most people use though. I know you'll be able to ask just about anyone in the community for feedback on this because most people use this setup rather than giving you the very niche card, the core setup, which it has its own drawbacks. Like it's hard to type in game and stuff, and it's just a bit more alien in general. It's also something where it's changed since I first started using it, and I haven't done all the new adaptations, so I really don't want to push you towards that because that's such a hardcore setup with so many potential fuck ups if you don't do your research on it. So anyways, so go through, make your camera locations, and you should be able to zoom between your main, your natural, your third base. Bam, bam, bam.
All right, let me go ahead and accept this.
Yep. While you're just having a play with that, I'm going to go through the rest of these. Okay. Awesome. There we go. Shift D selecting. Okay, cloning. So Control F1 when you're above your main base to create it. Control F2 when you're above your natural to create it, etc., etc.
Control F1, Control 2. All right.
Okay. So F1, F2, F3, it's working?
Yep, everything's good.
Okay, so you're going to notice they're not centered, right? So what you want to do is when you're
offset.
Yeah, when you're above your main, just double. So all your command centers should be on 1. So let's put both your command centers on 1 right now, because that's going to be our new thing.
Mineral field depleted.
And then when you're nearby 1, you can just double tap 1, and it will
Center it.
It'll center it, and then you recreate that control group. You want them to be perfectly centered every game, so that you don't even need to look at your screen. You can literally jump to your main, pull workers, like box the workers, jump to your natural, tell them to go to the minerals while looking at your minimap. Like you can do shit like that because it's always in the exact same place, which is the secret to muscle memory. Anytime we can get shit to just be so automated, we barely need to look at it on screen. It's all about taking decision making out of it. A lot of players out there, they think, StarCraft, ultimately flexible. You want to be making decisions, adjusting, adapting. The real secret to being a good StarCraft player is taking as many decisions out of the equation as possible so we can focus on the tactics and the few important decisions that we need to actually make on the fly. We want most shit to be automated. So those are both centered now. That feels okay. Any questions on that?
No, so far so good.
Okay. That's going to take practice to get used to. I am going to give you a special setup. So we're going to make it your first 3 bases get camera locations, and then your rally point becomes the 4th one, F4. Now, in the early game as a Terran, swapping your production around, the add-ons is very important. So right above the top of your ramp where your 3 production facilities are, I want you to make that Control F4. That's your 4th camera location. And that can swap to a rally point, like the front of your wall off where Bling Bane might come in and attack your rally or something later on. Could be a 4th base, whatever you prefer. But in the early game, when you're swapping add-ons around a lot, adding a lot of production, it's really nice because then you can always just go, oh, okay, cool, I'm doing stuff, I'm out in the map, blah, 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 blah. And then just bam, press F4, you're back at your production and you can do all your shit. You can just as easily go to the main and then scroll down or scroll up from your main base, but that's a cool way of thinking of it. So camera locations, we'll write that down. F1 to F8 cameras. So we're going to try to always use these for jumping home, right? To macro, to transfer workers, drop mules, do production stuff. That falls under macro, I guess. F4 can be production / rally point. And then F1 to F3 for 3 bases. And if we just start with that as a goal, getting used to just those 4 camera locations, at some point in the future, you can learn the others. But this is already if we start using those and get used to it, fucking amazing, man. That'll be great. It's really good. So, as I said, go to your natural, F2, box all the workers, F1, tell them to go onto a gas in the main. That's the sort of thing you go. This is one of the things you'll find you get really fast at mineral walking workers, right? So, sometimes there's like lings in your base and you want to just surround them, or roaches have just run in. you can do that same thing, right? You just grab all the workers, mineral walk them to your natural, and then A move them, and you just blitz straight through them. Whereas if you try to do that manually, you like box your workers, you're scrolling over there, you're trying to click on those minerals, and it's like just a bit awkward. Which brings us to something else. Do you scroll around by just scrolling on the edge of the screen?
I generally click like the mini map.
But if you need to, you'll just kind of scroll on the edge?
Yeah, I'm usually at maximum DPI.
Maximum scroll speed, you mean?
Yeah. Sorry, maximum scroll speed. So yeah, I'm just.
So it is 100% right now, your mouse scroll speed in the mouse and keyboard? Okay, good. Good. Technically, you might want to go enable mouse sensitivity in StarCraft and put it on 51%. Apparently, that helps it not being inconsistent for some reason. Can't remember why. Someone who understands my stuff did that. So
51%.
51%, yeah. I think if it's an odd number, it helps. If you're Roddy, you're like, every new setup you go on, you just change this to like 71 or 73% or something weird. You know, everyone has their own weird thing to get it just right. But I like 51%. And then we can just adjust the DPI on our mouse so we can actually be completely exact on every computer, assuming we're playing on the same monitor size, which is the big variable that we can't always control. Which really fucks you. I remember being at tournaments in the old days. You get there and they're like, oh yeah, we got 30-inch monitors. And I'm like, go fuck yourself. Like, no one's practiced on this. And suddenly everyone's mouse movements are different. It's like going to play tennis and they're like, oh, this court's 30% bigger at this tournament. You're like, what? No one's practiced on this. This is fucking the silliest thing to change. But it's just one of those funny things. Gameplay menu.
All right.
I've got my caster settings on right now, but unit life bars is on always, yeah?
Yes.
Control groups, unclickable?
Control groups are clickable.
Yeah, make it unclickable. We don't want to accidentally click on those buttons. If you're clicking down there, that's... Ugh. Flyer help is on always, yeah?
Yes.
Enable enemy unit selection is on?
Yes.
What about experience points? Do you have display experience points on?
No. I'm not
Turn it
seeing
on.
that.
A lot of people, it's just... Yeah, turn it on. So a
Yeah,
lot of people go, what the fuck do you want experience points? It's just, you can, when you're multitasking, it'll allow you to see shit that died a lot easier, especially if you're on lower graphic settings. So you can jump back, your shit's just died, and you'll still see the XP numbers floating up in the fog of war, and you're like, If you kill invisible units or burrowed units, same thing. It's hard to tell if you kill a burrowed Widowmine if you don't have detection, but you'll see the XP popping up. So this is helpful, just for the visual stuff. Speaking of which... Let's just double check the rest of it. You got display build grid on?
I do, yes.
Okay, show alerts. Is that turned on?
Show alerts is off.
Good, I like that. Enable simple command card. Is that turned on?
Simple command is off.
Good. Show current order indicators on, yeah?
Yes, it is.
I like these settings. Cool, yes. So, graphics. How beastly is your computer?
Mineral field depleted.
I mean, it's doing the job. Let me go ahead and go to graphics real quick.
Well, actually, don't even go to graphics. Just go in-game. So
All right.
return to game. Control-Alt-F. And that will show in the top left.
In that mineral cluster.
A little thing. What's your FPS?
FPS is at 189.
Good. You're good. You can use whatever graphic settings you want. As long as it's not everything's on ultra, you'll probably, if you put everything on medium, you'll probably get the best results with just like textures and one or two other settings that increases visibility of like invisible units on ultra. Because then you'll just get even more FPS, which is awesome. Higher
right now,
FPS in big fights is good.
High.
Okay, cool. So yeah, if you find, man, these like big Ling Bane battles, my FPS does drop to like 70. Be nicer if it was like 110, 120, or even higher. You can try lowering that, but that's not a big deal for now. You're running at pretty smooth FPS. That's good.
Yeah, generally speaking, I don't run into issues like that. I mean, again, could be situational.
Yeah, especially with the way you're playing. It's just if you end up with like a big max like Bio versus Ling Bane, that's like usually the big one. It's like whenever there's 100 Banelings on a screen, CPUs fucking lose their shit, and everyone. Yeah, I mean, like you can have the best computer in the world, and a 4v4 will always drop your frames like crazy if everyone maxes out and starts fighting together. There's just no processor because StarCraft only really uses one core with the way it's designed, so there's just no process that can really handle that. But Stegophone, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub. Appreciate that. Anybody else who's supported the stream, just a quick shout out there for Creep Tumor as well. Thank you so much for the support, as well as Dr. Ryan for the sub. Sorry guys, This was like an hour ago before we even started. Thank you. Sorry guys for not noticing that. Let's get back into the coaching here. Okay. We've got cameras. We're lowering the DPI. We've got all those settings. I think we just go straight into deselecting and cloning now. Yeah. So can you take a third base?
Yeah, let me go get it.
And or just actually just float a base down and take both gases. So float both your bases down and take both gases and just split your workers on both of those. And can you also just build a bunch of marines or something?
Yep.
If you don't have any, I don't think you do, right? So what we're going to do is cloning or deselecting, and basically this is going to open up the wireframe as something we focus on more. So this is one of the most important mechanics in the game. Yeah, this is just so important. It's so important. So the wireframe at the bottom is like the most important thing. I was talking about if we can always click in the same spot, having the command center, centered, that's huge, right? Did we float our natural out as well? Or did you float that? You went up, did you?
I floated them both out, yeah.
Do you normally expand to that top base?
Command center
No.
has been updated.
Okay, just checking. I'm like, that's not the normal one. You know that, right? No worries. All right.
No, I'm pretty sure like there's something there, or maybe there wasn't. Maybe I'm just seeing things.
I think the barracks I'd lifted off. Maybe it was blocking it before. Sorry. All right. So put your dudes on mining here. So put them back on mining on this. Okay. So what we're going to use is cloning. See how this is really time consumptive, time consuming would be a better way of saying that to put the guys on gas. So if you pull everyone off. All right, we're doing it there. Okay. So we need to put 3 guys on a gas, 3 guys on the other gas, and then the guys back on minerals. Now, I want you to not just really take your time with what you're doing and do exactly what I say. We'll explain it after. So I want you to select all the SCVs.
All right, selected.
Right click on one of the gas geysers. Now I want you to hold down shift, and in your wireframe, I want you to left click on 3 of those SCV portraits. And you should see them be removed from your selection.
Yes.
Once you've done that, let go of shift and right click on the other gas. Now I want you to hold down shift and once again left click on 3 of the portraits.
All right.
And then right click on the minerals. Job done. So what you've just done is you've used cloning. This is where you give everyone an order and then you deselect the units that you want to keep that order and you give everyone remaining a new order. So it's an easy way without having to be boxing SCVs on screen, which is inconsistent and time consuming. We can just give everyone the orders, deselect, give everyone the orders, deselect. And once you practice at this, it takes the blink of an eye. It takes almost no time. When you're first doing it, like, is this really effective? It's just because you're not used to doing it yet. You'll get way faster at it, and then it's way quicker. So essentially what you did there is you said, everyone go mine gas, deselect 3 SCVs. That was what the shift left clicking was in the bottom wireframe. And you were clicking in the wireframe, not on screen, right?
Yeah, the wireframe.
So you're just like, those 3 SCVs you selected, because you're taking them out of your selection, they're just going to keep that initial order. You then told everyone that was left to mine on the second gas, took 3 SCVs out of your selection, you deselected them, and you told everyone that was left to click on the minerals. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense.
Okay, good. I wanted to explain that really slowly because that is a kind of mind-bending concept, what we've just done, because you're kind of going about doing it in an awkward way. You're telling everyone to mine gas, then you're taking 3 out. Like, it's a weird thing you're doing. A lot of people get very confused. I used to always rush through that explanation and then get stuck in a 15-minute quagmire of confusion. Because I'd tell them the actions, they'd do it, I'd go, cool, you've got it. But they'd have no idea what they were doing, so then they'd fuck it up on their own once they were practicing it. So can you pull off again and very slowly do the same thing again and say out loud what you're doing and just kind of tell me what you're doing as you do it. So whenever you're ready, just take your time with it, really go slowly, there's no hurry, and just vocalize what you're doing as you do it.
All right, I just pulled. Let me get those last 2. All right, so everyone is off the bottom left. I'm shifting to the top refinery. Shift right click. I'm gonna select 3 off. Shift right click to the other refinery. Select 3 off, and then shift to the minerals. I
Cool.
think I messed. Oh, you know
You
what I did? I did it somewhat backwards. I sent 3 to the minerals.
no, you did it correct. What you did is you didn't let go of shift in between your deselects. You're
Oh
only
yeah.
holding down shift while you deselect. So even at the start, you were holding down shift before you told them to go on the gas. So they all move commanded where you told them to move. Then they started
Okay.
going to the gas.
And as I see, like they're each
Yep.
one by one.
They're all saying, well, we've all been told to mine one load of gas, and then
And
they
then
will end up where they
minerals.
need to be. So it's just remembering to let go of shift. You're only holding down shift when you're to deselect. Shift plus left click is to take an SCV out of your selection. So,
Alright, so
pull everyone off and really take your time with it.
Nothing left in that mineral cluster.
Right click refinery. Shift deselect 3. Right click refinery. Shift deselect 3. Right click minerals.
Beautiful. That's it. That's it. So, you've got it. Do it 3 more times in a row very slowly. I want to make sure you have it and keep vocalizing it. Whenever I practice a new mechanic, I do this. Sometimes, like when I learned the core, I would literally sing to myself what I was doing. Because I was learning so many mechanics and I was doing over an hour of mechanics practice each day and I was going fucking crazy. But it actually helped me internalize it. Because I was like, all right, we're doing this and then we're doing the injects. I'd be talking to myself the whole time. It's a weird thing. I want to make you look like a crazy person like me, even though you're not live streaming.
It definitely helps the overall. It's like a method to the madness type deal.
Exactly.
So right click refinery, shift tear 3 off. Right click bottom refinery, shift tear 3 off. Right click mineral line. Everyone's
Beautiful.
doing what it's supposed to be doing now.
One more time and even slower if you can. That's like the way the speed you're doing it is fine because you're pulling it off. Just that's the absolute fastest. Just make sure you're giving yourself time. You're very one step. You're doing good though. You did it perfectly.
Top refinery, shift 1, 2, 3. Bottom refinery, shift 1, 2, 3. Mineral line.
Beautiful. That's awesome. So that's one of the things you see in your document homework. We can do like 2 minutes of just practicing cloning slash deselecting as well. So you could just do this for 2 minutes each day for the first few days, just so it becomes really built in. Now, this same mechanic is used for scouting. It's more important for Zerg than any other race. It's always funny when I'm teaching a Protoss this because I'm like, yeah, you'll use this very rarely because Zealots aren't as expendable as Zerglings or Marines. But we can do it with just how many Marines do you have? Have you got many?
I have a handful. 2, 4,
Just
6,
let's
8.
just grab grab like 10 SCVs and let's pretend those are Marines. So just grab 10 SCVs off the base and there we go. Okay, cool. So what we can do, think about the theory of that same mechanic. What we're doing is everyone gets an order, deselect some, everyone gets a new order, deselect, and so on. We use this for scouting and map control. So if you think about it, a common thing is putting a worker or a Marine outside your opponent's base at their 3rd and their 4th, their potential expansions. So the problem is we have a control group. So before we rush ahead and do it, sorry, I can't see your SCVs. Yep,
Oh, no
thank
worries,
you.
they're right here.
Put them on your army group. These are Marines. Remember, we're imagining these are Marines. So what do you think for basic, like what's a consistent sort of map control? Maybe outside the natural of the opponent and at the 3rd and their 4th? Those?
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. That's
Yep.
one replay we did. I try to get vision, especially on like Zerg. Try to lock them out of their natural and secondary. Just to give a small amount of harass.
That's a good way of doing it. It just gives you some more vision. TVT for spotting doom drops. So let's just start with that as like just sending 3 Marine, quote unquote, Marine spotters out. Now the way we're going to do this, so is basically we're going to say army goes to scouting spot.
We've completely mined out a mineral.
Then we're going to deselect 1 Marine. Army goes to next scouting spot. Deselect a Marine. And so on and so on. Now, we're going to do that 3 times, right? Because there's 3 scouting spots.
All right.
But what do we do at the end of that? We've got our remaining units that are going to the final scouting spot. We don't want them to go there. So we want to right-click the remaining units in our selection back to our rally point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what else do? We reconfirm the control group. Because if we don't remake the control group, all those scouting workers are still in our army group, right?
Yeah.
So at the end, we're going to need to go, what's your army group? Are these on 2 right now?
2.
All right, so we would need to go control plus 2, right?
Yep.
at the end of it all. Okay, awesome. So have a go, say out loud what you're doing, and just do it real slow once again.
All right. Right click, first point, shift 1. Right click point 2, shift 1. Right click point 3, shift 1. Bring the rest home. Control 2 to consolidate.
Okay, that looked pretty good. As far as I can tell, you've got 3 scouting, quote-unquote, Marines in position. Select your control group, move it around. And those SCVs aren't on it, right? Awesome.
No.
All right, do it. Do that one more time. That was perfect, but do it one more time.
All right. Point 1, remove. Oops. What are we doing? Go back here. So yeah, point 1, remove. Point 2, remove. Point 3,
What's going on?
remove. Oh,
You scared me. In the
what do we
rear
do
with
here?
the
So we got the
Go
5
ahead.
Marines.
Yep.
Shift.
Gotcha. It's your dime.
So I'm clicking on the wireframe with oh, you know what? Because my positioning was off and I'm stupid. Let me do that again. I'm saying shift and hitting control. Point
Okay,
one.
that would explain it.
I'm like, what's going on here? Point 2, 1
I was
off.
like, I can't see your hand,
3,
so let's let him
1
solve
off.
this one.
Big job.
Back to rally. Consolidate. The last 2
In
Marines.
the rear with the gear.
And then to check you've done it, you can both look at your control groups bar and see if there's only 2 left on there, and you can
Yep.
just select it and move it around and make sure those scouts don't come back to join with your army. Awesome.
And 2 Marines heading up north.
Yeah, this is one of these things where it's so useful to do this, especially in long games when you get up to like later games. Just being able to send some scouts out, so useful to track what's going on. And some people, this is why I hate select all army, is they can never use this mechanic because they just select all army and pull any scouts home, any unit they've got. Sorry, any unit they've got waiting to harass their opponent. They always accidentally pull back to their army. So there's no tactical genius of waiting for the right moment to strike. Anytime they do it, they accidentally pull the unit home.
Yeah,
Anytime they set up vision, it's like they fall apart because they just don't have the same flexibility. And for me, the funnest pints in StarCraft are when you do some cool shit where you wait for the right moment to strike, right?
Absolutely, yeah. When you lie in wait, you have that secondary squad waiting to attack.
That's the dream. That's when it feels really good. So awesome, man. These are some good mechanics. The final one for the mechanics here.
Mineral field depleted.
Someone's asking if I play on the Asian server for better ping. It's the exact same as US West. It's like almost identical. But anyways, control group stealing. Do you know what that is?
I'm familiar with it. I've never used it.
Cool. So by default, that's alt. I'm going to make it so you use the defaults. You use it as default. So just to give you... I was going to say look at the stream. There's a 2-minute delay. Never mind. So basically, if you go into your menu, I'll just walk you through it. Go into your hotkeys. Go into your global control groups.
Global.
You're going to see like control 1, control 2. You scroll down, select is like 1, 2, 3. Add 2 is shift 1, shift 2, shift 3, right?
Our base is under
Yep, I
attack.
see that.
If you scroll below all that, we've got create control groups and take away units. This is stealing. Add to control group and take away units, that is stealing. And what we're going to do is we're going to make these the same as the defaults. We're not going to have any ability to make normal
Our
control
base is
groups.
under attack.
So go through, create control group 1 and take away units. We want to be control 1. Create control group 2 and take away units. We want to be control 2. And so on and so forth.
Our base is under attack.
And just be careful that you don't unbind control if you don't hit those at the same time, or you'll have to go fix that at the end, which will be easy enough.
Our base
We should be
is
good.
under
We're
attack.
create, take away, or it's control 1, 2, 3, and 4 is what we wanted, right?
Control plus 1 for
Yeah,
create.
control plus 1. Yeah.
Yep. Control plus 1. Control all and for all of them. So do all of them.
Alright.
Control plus 1 right through to the bottom for all of them. And once you get to the next row, which is add to control group and take away units, we want to be shift +1, shift +2, shift +3, etc.
We've completely mined out a mineral field. Nothing left in that mineral cluster. Mineral field.
And it'll say you have about 1 billion unbound keys. Don't worry about it.
Wouldn't think about it.
So let me know when you've changed all those.
All right, almost done. All right, accept. We're good to go.
Check your unbounds once you've accepted it and saved it. So go to your hotkeys and check your unbounds. And just check. All the normal add to control group, create control groups should be gone. They're all there.
Yeah, I have all the control groups.
Just check if there's anything else. Are there any other weird ones that are unbound right now?
Idle worker, F1.
That's fine. Let's click that actually. We said we'd make that tilde. So edit.
Tilde.
And we can just make that tilde.
All right.
And just check through the rest, see if there's anything else that we've messed up or that we're missing in those unbounds. After we do, it's easy to accidentally like mishit a hotkey one time and unbind something else, so it's just important to double check.
So I've lost all of the create controls, all the add to control.
Yep.
The select army.
Yep.
And the push talk.
No worries. Awesome.
I'm not
Save
too
it.
worried about, yeah.
Yeah, that's all good then. Awesome, man. Thank you very much, Solus Games, for the tier 1 sub, Judgicals for the sub, Stegophone, appreciate it, guys. So what this has done is basically every time you create units, it steals them, right? So so grab all these SCVs at this bottom base and pull them off. Let's imagine this is your army. This is 20 Marines, or however many that is. So that's on control 2, right? Throw that on control 2.
Control 2, 15.
Cool. So now we see some units coming here to attack, a few Zerglings, but there's also a roach drop going to our main. So we want to split our army in half. So you're going to box half of that.
All right.
And we're going to go control 3. Because I think we're using 3 as secondary army now. Yes, we are. And then you can just aim
now
it.
I have 5 and 2 and 3 and 10. Or 10 and 3, sorry.
Ah, okay, cool. Yeah. Sorry, it was 5 units in it. Yeah. So now move that drop defense squad into your main base to go defend this quote-unquote drop that's up there. That's the drop, I guess. That SV, that's cool. They'll go up there. And then you split your army in 2. And you'll notice you can micro both of these. You can move control group 2 back and forwards, move control group 3 back and forwards. And you can micro those independently. So what you've done is you've created a new control group. At the same time, you've removed them from their existing control groups. If you don't use this, you see a lot of people, and I'm like, you got to create a separate control group to defend that drop. And they're like, cool. They box a bunch of Marines, put them on a new control group, send them into their main, and then they select their main army and tell it to do something else. And they just start walking right back to the main army. And you're like, no! And that's where, because this is default now, anytime you add anything to a control group, it's removed off any control group it used to be on. Now that does mean you can't have overlapping control groups. So you can't have a Marine on Army 1 and also on Army 2 at the same time. Is there any time you like to have units overlapping on multiple control groups at the same time?
I can't say there is off the top of my head. I mean, honestly, it seems more useful this way.
Yeah, it's not a big thing, right? That you're kind of overlapping. So I think it should be completely fine. Oh shit, we've already gone overtime. So that's actually the last mechanic we had to go over there, which is basically, that's going to make it easy to split up your unit. Same thing, you want to do a run by, you got your big mech army to go, just grab a few Hellions, steal them onto your run by hotkey, which might be number 5 is what we've written down, is what we'd like to do for that, and send them off. And it's just so easy to split your army up. Yeah, man, he's got Broodlords, I can't fight him. Split half your army, put it on a different control group, attack down both sides of the maps at the same time. We can't fight them, but we can try to base trade and run past and around them and kill the buildings, you know? It's going to give you a lot of flexibility. So it makes it really easy to split your units up, to defend and to attack. One of my favorite mechanics. if you panic and you fat finger stuff, you may accidentally do things like throw all of your production into your army group. And that's something you'll need to, number one, calm down and stop doing. Number two, you'll learn to realize what's happened, and you'll very easily just grab them and add them back to the normal control group, which is not too hard to do. Like, yeah, it's very easy. So awesome. So this is a whole lot of different mechanics for you to work on. It's changing your mouse speed. It's doing a few things differently. Now, in terms of how we want to develop, that's a lot of mechanical things to focus on all at once. In any next session we would be trying to get you a little bit more on the road to a more quote unquote standard play style. I think if we want to give you something that you can still have a shot at winning games with in the relatively near future. This isn't to necessarily just super cushion you as a player or anything like that.
All right.
It's just to give you a fact of, tight games with a goal. So I would say we probably want to take a rather, do you want to be a mech or a bio player?
Probably more bio.
You want to be a more bio player? Okay.
Mineral field depleted.
So control group stealing is now standard. You want to be a bio player? So we would like to go
Our base is
some sort of standard opening into a 2 base, 45 SCV, 5 racks, 1 fact, 1 starport. That's the standard production for 2 bases. I'm not sure with how cheesy you are if you know that.
Yeah.
You do? Good.
I'm fairly familiar.
So basically, you would do some sort of opening, 2 base, 45 racks, 1 fact, 1 starport,
under attack.
2 base marine tank push, marine tank medevac.
Our base is under
Why? Because this is an easy way to just win or lose the game off our early macro. We can just work on spending our money and then getting up basic unit siege tank bio push, one of the most generic things you'll ever be doing. It also means the game won't drag on too crazy long, and we can just kind of keep it focused on that, and we can just, try to do that. Now, if you don't want to do that in every matchup, that's fine. You can still learn these mechanics while doing your crazy BC cheese and stuff, and that's totally okay. So you've already got a lot on your plate with learning the new mechanics. I'm totally okay with you sticking in your comfort zone for now, as long as you're focused on learning how to use the control group stealing, learning the new mouse speed, and getting used to microing with it. Just kind of adapting to all these mechanical changes, and we can push you more towards, standard macro play in the future at some point.
That works for me. That sounds ideal, actually.
Awesome. So some sort of standard opening into a 2 base
Our base is
push,
under attack.
that's good, but you can keep practicing with standard play. The important thing is you need to do that mechanical practice at least 15 or 20 minutes every day. If you can bring that up to 30 or 40 minutes for the first few days, just practicing a build. Okay, let's do 5 minutes of practicing the cloning and deselecting, putting unit scouts all over the map, pulling the workers off, putting them back on gas, scrolling through my base using the camera location keys when I need to move workers around and stuff like that. This sort of shit is going to be huge. It's a lot of changes. Making sure you're consistent with that new control group setup is going to be big as well. But yeah, if we can just do a bit of mechanical practice each day and then just start getting used to all that, and then we can move more into, okay, now let's start looking at the actual fundamentals of making, macro play work. Let's hope we can not drop below plat 2. Hopefully we keep it above plat 2. We're currently, Diamond 3, right? And then we can...
Yeah.
We can very quickly reascend. As long as we stay focused on those goals like we talked about a lot earlier, you'll climb back up way quicker than you fall once things settle and you've got a little bit of muscle memory and you can feel a bit more natural playing.
Perfect. That sounds good to me.
Awesome, man. It's been a while since I did a coaching session with all this stuff. So that's cool. It's been so long since I went over all that, but I'm really looking forward to it. Anything that doesn't make sense, write it down. Any questions you have, write them down. If there's anything small that you're struggling with, just shoot me a little message, especially with the mechanical stuff that's easy for me to respond to. And yeah,